I was watching the news day before yesterday. It might have been yesterday, in fact, where Eli Lilly, and he's over top of one of the pharmaceutical companies, he announced price cuts for insulin by
Hmm.
70%, which automatically caps out of the pocket at $35.
Oh,
For people
wow.
who have private insurance and using participating pharmacies, it's going to be $35, a little bit higher, but he's starting to break the mold. He's answering the call of our great president, President Biden,
Good.
and
Very
trying to
good to hear.
start to make something more affordable. He did say, however, it's going to be on the kind of like no name brands, and I'm not really sure about that RAM, but he says he's starting there, and that will start this month in March, and by May, some of the well-known insulin brands, they will also be cut at a 70% price rate where you could save a good chunk of money, especially if you have private insurance, as well as it's not a new program, but they have this program out there for anybody that does not have insurance called Insulin Value Program. And you can go onto their website, and it helps people that are uninsured with the cost of insulin. And you could get your insulin for $35 or less if you sign up to be a part of this program, but you have to be uninsured in order to be a part of that program.
Okay.
So they are starting there. And President Biden did say that, and I've heard him say this all last year, it costs as little as $10 to make insulin. But these pharmaceutical companies are just making money off of most
Hmm.
Americans and charging three times the amount that it costs to make it. And people can't afford $300 a pop, and all these astronomical prices that they're putting on not just Americans, but worldwide. People, this is something that people need to save their lives. This is not something that you can play with like food. This is something that people need. And, as I was watching it, I actually was in the guest bathroom, and my husband had it on in the bedroom, and it just, my ears perked up when I heard the commentators say that people have to ration out their insulin. So they have to go sometimes without taking it for a day, and then take it when they really just can't do without. And I thought to myself, no human being deserves to have to ration out their insulin to save their life. And especially when it comes to being hospitalized, and then you got that worry, you don't have your insulin, then you're hospitalized, and then you got a hospital bill on top of already not being able to get your insulin the way you need it. So my hat goes off to Eli Lilly. I hope he does indeed do what he says that he's going to do. And
Okay.
and that he did do a press conference, so I'm pretty sure it's in the making. But like they say, it costs less than $10. So I just, I don't get it with some of these companies. How rich do you have to be? How many people do you have to kill to have so much money in the bank that you can't take it with you? And you
Right.
would want somebody to help you if you wasn't a billionaire or a millionaire. And I just don't get it. It just blows my mind, what we live in, how we live in today's society, with some people's thinking it's just like out for sale. I mean, you can't, how much can you take with you? it, it just
Exactly.
it just blows my mind. But Biden is calling for some of the other pharmaceutical companies to stop robbing the American, as he says. He says that they have been raising it. They have been raising it for a couple of years, and especially during the pandemic,
Hmm.
16.5% of Americans had the cost of their insulin raised, and
Hmm.
that was between 2002 up to 2020. That it was raised, and it hasn't gotten any better. Reports from American Diabetics as well as GoodRx, they say that the prices are continuing to rise. They've seen a big increase between 2014 and 19, and the demand for insulin is growing significantly because this disease is a rapid and fast growing chronic disease around the world. So they join in forces in saying that diabetics need some help. They need some help, and sometimes insurance companies just don't cover it. And that goes back to what you were saying, Ari, that, switching insurance and depending on, how much you can pay for it. And, my hat goes off to you guys for being brave enough, first of all, to come on the show and talk about it, as well as take care of yourselves. And if you can leave my listeners with any last thought, what would you tell anybody that's listening right now from your standpoint, from being a diabetic, Ari, and such a young age, because you're young? What would be your last words to speak to my listeners?
First things first, cry. You're gonna feel like the world is ending. I did the same thing. I cried. I woke up in the hospital. My mom was next to me, didn't know what was going on. Cry, and then from there, figure out what you need to do next. I love the subreddits, type 1 diabetic. So just type in reddit.com or download the app on your phone and type in type 1 diabetic or diabetic. And there's a channel for that. It gives you a bunch of information. You can talk to people in there. They are going through the exact same thing you are, some even worse. So I say, get in there, meet some folks, let them know what's happening, and you'll be all right. We'll be okay.
Well, I'm definitely praying for both of you guys. What about you, Mo?
Thank you. For you to just get your regular health checkups. Know your numbers, ask questions, and just do what you're supposed to do to try to help yourself. And just think about the consequences of some of these health scares that go on, and what it entails in the end for you if you don't get your regular checkups, stay in the doctor's office. And get things done, because diabetes can lead to all sorts of types of things. Kidney disease, it can lead to eye loss. You can lose your sight over this. You can lose limbs. So do your regular checkups. If you have symptoms, stop ignoring some of these symptoms and get to these doctors and just say, hey, I want to check my A1C levels. I want you to check them. I want you to see, to test me for diabetes, test me for heart disease, whatever you think is going on in your body and that you need to be tested for. Get with these doctors and find you some good doctors and talk to them and ask a bunch of questions, like you said in the beginning, to try to figure out what's going on in my body.
Yeah, definitely.
Detrimental to our health if we don't.
Definitely. I'm always telling my listeners, anytime I do a piece on health, make sure that you go into your doctor's office armed. I see so many people in our age group, and as you guys know Ari's story now, and there's so many other young ladies out there like her. As I was doing the research, it was so many young ladies in their 20s that found out by passing out and ended up in the hospital. So guys, definitely know your numbers. Take yourself to the doctor. Arm yourself. Don't let some dizziness or a headache or any of that stuff, whether it's diabetic related, whether it's heart or stroke diabetic, related, I'm sorry, in our Black communities especially. We have to continue to lift each other up, get into support groups, know your numbers, get educated on some of these things that are out here that are free. It is so much stuff out here that is free. So when you're lying around on a Saturday, just start Googling some stuff. There's so many free events, and they do giveaways and bags, and you find yourself enjoying